This is such a beautiful, really mantra when you think about it. Repeating the right words sometimes shifts us. We are here on this planet Earth, and it has not been an easy place for a very long time. But some beautiful beings in this world, when they came, they figure out the art of living. And it is now up to us to also completely figure out the art of living. And so part of the art of living, and Yogananda used to teach classes called How to Live. And I think you can still take these classes and you can go and spend, a few days in silence in the temple. So in Encinitas also, I don't know if they still do it or not, but I have done this. And so the art of living was that all day you are dedicated to your spiritual evolution. But the thing is, as Divine Mother likes to bring some shortcuts, and I really appreciate her shortcuts. Number one, am I feeling love? If I am not feeling love in my heart, well, probably it doesn't then matter how much I chant and what breathing exercises I do. Today, again, when I attuned to Divine Mother this morning, I did my meditations. And again, it was just do the simple thing. How open is your heart? Remember, it is all about the Sacred Heart. Some people say it's all about love, but let's look at the really, it is kind of like a physiology of our sacredness. Within us, we have sacred physiology. And so, we looked at all the beautiful quotes from Yogananda, and it's always about love. But why? Maybe the word love is, a word that we hear all the time, and so it doesn't really have a meaning anymore the way that it should do. Maybe we can call it something else. So I know Divine Mother calls it the ultimate opening force, the ultimate harmonizing force. And so our attunement for the art of living, it really has to have that component to be open and to be in harmony. And then all falls into the right place. And so in the morning when we wake up, it's good to find our way to go into an open heart, to actually go as far as we can go, to open it as much as we can. And it could be that you have some reasons, but it also could be that you have no reason. And starting with a smile. If there is no reason to smile, it doesn't matter. Smile anyway. And so, I really, as a human being, I think we all got to know all the different conditions, and especially all the different conditions of unconsciousness. But now we have the tools more than ever, and actually the incredible ability to actually shift our own being so much. And so what is it that shifts you? Is it a cup of tea? Is it going outside? Is it reading from a book? Is it listening to a song? Is it, playing with your kids, grandkids? Is it just, looking at nature? What is it for you? That is your practice. Yes, to be a smile millionaire, that's right. So what is it that will shift the heart? And just go with that bliss. And then follow your bliss, as someone said. Because really, if we don't follow bliss, then where are we? So love and bliss and joy, they are actually not one of those polarities, one-sided, that we know here. We know about the loops of creation, and we'll speak about it a little bit today as we speak about cosmic abundance. And so this is really the design of our reality. This is so interesting. It is really something so simple, and yet it is so hard to live that way, to be always in the middle, to be always in that love, to be always in the center of all bliss, beyond the dualities. We want to be beyond any duality that is not really centered in Christ consciousness. So it is being in the 0 point, it is being in the oneness, it is being in that loving, caring indifference, which is a strange combination when you think about it. How can indifference be loving and caring? And yet it is. Because the being in the middle is the Christ self, and the Christ self is only light, and the Christ self is only love. And yet it is deeply caring, and yet it is deeply loving. It's all very interesting. So to me, again, the Tao Te Ching just really is such an amazing book of codes. It is a book of codes, and it has been, of course, not fully understood unless the mystic goes into maybe even years of meditation to actually fully download that knowledge directly. Then it becomes a direct experience, and then everything is simplicity. But until then, it's like an intellectual exercise. How do we understand the Tao Te Ching? I don't know how many times someone tried to understand the Tao Te Ching with the intellectual mind. But it is only understood when we actually have direct contact with Divine Mother. So, Tao Te Ching, if someone can put it in the chat, I'm going to play a verse, maybe 2, maybe 3 from the Tao Te Ching. But I'll first share a little bit, once again, about my encounter with the creator of all that is. Now, we live in a very complex reality. And this complex reality doesn't have just one, Father God, one Mother God. It actually has so many other beings too, who also are creator beings. And we have designers of realities as well. It's pretty profound. So I will leave that up to you to discover, because it can be overwhelming if someone just talks about it. But from my experience, I will tell you the creator of all that is, that I had an encounter with a few years ago when Yogananda trained me to have the confidence to actually have the encounter. And just a few things I learned from this creator. The creator, when I'm going to say it, was revealed to me, because we go beyond, the masculine, feminine when we have this like ultimate encounter. So I got to learn about the design of our reality. And I cannot say that all realities are created the same. And I would actually guess that all realities have a different design just for the fun of it. But our reality is designed originally to be a reality of healthy dualities. So we have the hard and the soft. We have the right and the left, all the good things, like our body, tall, short, and so on and so on. And you would agree that those are good dualities. But again, this was the original design, and that's what the Tao Te Ching is all about. So the design was, yes, we will have creation, but you as your Christ self will stay in the middle of all dualities, accepting them as they are, using them to create, and yet being untouched by them. How interesting that is, to be untouched by creation and yet to be completely in it, to be in the world without being actually of the world, as Uncle Jesus said. So this is what the creator revealed to me, that when you want to make a diagram of creation in this world, it will be very simple. It will be a loop of infinity. And the point in the middle, we can call it many names. You can call it Christ consciousness. You can call it the 0 point. You can call it the Christed heart. You can call it the sacred heart. You can call the origin point. You can call it non-duality. You can call it anything you want, but actually it is simply, I think non-duality is a good term for it too. But again, it is Christ consciousness too. So the point in the middle will be really the one that is untouched. And yet the right and the left, without the devil, without the angel, it just will be right and left, the dark and the light, really the dark and the light. And the dark not being, like evil. It became distorted through the introduction of unconsciousness, and it became painful. But it was not originally meant to be painful. The original idea was this is going to be really cool. So the original idea is, yes, we're going to have night, we're going to have day, we're going to have left, we're going to have right, we're going to have tall, we're going to have short, we're going to have warm, we're going to have cold. We will have being and non-being, but the one in the middle will be untouched. In the midst of creation, the one in the middle will always be centered in the heart, beyond the dualities, and yet being also in them. It's very interesting. So this is the design of our reality. I think it's the most misunderstood, actually, fact about our world. And that's why we have so many different philosophies and teachings trying to remind us of this, because to be honest, human beings have a really impossible time to stay in the middle, untouched. And so that's where we have, what we would call distortions, because then we have beings who really do believe that they have to go into the angelic self because there's also evil. And yes, it is. But the key is to find kind of like the opening in the middle and to go through there. And so that was the quote from Rumi. So everybody, every mystic who got to know this, got to understand how this works. This is the illusion on the right and on the left, and in the middle is the truth. And the middle path is actually what Jesus told me. That is what we can call truth. The truth is only in the middle. It is not on the right. It is not on the left. It's very interesting. And so with that in the mind, how do we create in this world? How do we remember how to really create without creating constantly the opposite of what we want? Well, we cannot create it from the right or the left. We have to create it from the middle. Now, how is that done? That is the most, groundbreaking remembrance we all are remembering. And that is that in the middle, there is only oneness of divinity without any distortion, without any separation. And so if we, for example, want to create abundance, we cannot create it by going into the angelic self and looking at, that which is bad on the other side and saying, well, I don't want to be poor. It doesn't feel good to be poor. It doesn't feel good not to have enough. So I'm going to go and create abundance. That will not create abundance. So abundance, too, is a quality of the middle point. And only from the middle point, which also is your sacred heart, abundance can be birthed, really as a magnetic force that will be drawn onto you. So again, when we discover the divine self in the middle, and again, whatever names we want to give it, it doesn't matter. But divine self right now is so active within us, so it's a good one to work with. When we get in touch with that vast, endless, expanded divine self, which is just a unity field within us, then we collapse all dualities around us that were distorted. So disease dissolves, doesn't exist anymore in the light of the divine. It's only well-being. And when we embody well-being within us fully and completely without any shadow of unconsciousness, then well-being will be drawn onto us because we become magnetic to it. Now, this to me is so huge. And I only got to know this because the creator explained this to me. Now, very interesting. When I met the creator told me to chant the sound of Mu from the core of my heart with the greatest love that I could possibly find within my being. And only then the creator will reveal itself again. Mu. To me, this was really interesting because no one ever talked to me about chanting Mu. Not my guides, no one. And so Mu was completely new to me. And so I did a little bit of research if anyone in this world actually talked about chanting Mu. And I found two very interesting things. That actually, apparently, the sound of source, the way that actually it can be audible is Mu. And there is a very ancient lineage somewhere in Tibet where the monks are asked to chant Mu for many hours every day, like 9 hours, until they get superpowers. I thought it was really interesting. And of course, we have the ancient continent of Mu, the ancient civilization of Mu, the first world, the first really beings here relating to themselves as Mu, because it was a frequency. And then, if you're familiar with, different ancient texts, the original mother here was called Ma-Mu. Ma-Mu. Very interesting. So anyway, so chanting, and I'm not saying you should chant, but, I'm just describing how this was given to me. And Paul White Gold Eagle, he actually made a video recently, a few weeks ago, where he explained how chanting Mu brings us together with the great central sun as well. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And so let us listen to verse 25. Verse 25. from the Tao Te Ching. And let us go deep. Maybe close your eyes so that you really go deep into your heart. What is this verse all about?
25. There was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. It is serene, empty, solitary, unchanging, infinite, eternally present. It is the mother of the universe. For lack of a better name, I call it the Tao. It flows through all things, inside and outside, and returns to the origin of all things. The Tao is great. The universe is great. Earth is great. Man is great. These are the four great powers. Man follows the earth. Earth follows the universe. The universe follows the Tao. The Tao follows only itself.
So this is so great, of course. When I got to meet Cosmic Mother Nature, it was like the most expanded version of the Divine Mother that I ever met. She would first come in kind of what I would call a human form. And then one day she took me beyond all forms into her cosmic nature. And that's when I stopped calling her Divine Mother, actually. And I started calling her Cosmic Mother Nature. And to me, it was like, that is the Tao. You can call her whatever you want. But she flows through all things as rainbow light, as an ever-expanding spiral of life in her primordial form. Because we are really speaking about energies that are, of course, super intelligent, like the most intelligent, really. And the thing is that you heard that as a person, we follow the earth, because first is you and me, we are tiny little beings. And yes, we might be very large energetically, but we still are beings who follow the energy of the earth. So that's why we talk about planetary ascension. And so then from the earth is a very large being. It's a very accomplished being that, many people call many different names, planetary logos, Gaia, Gaia Sophia, it doesn't matter. There is a beautiful planet and she has consciousness. And so then she follows the larger being that she's within, and she is within universe. And then, of course, universe is within cosmos. And again, cosmos is the one that the universe responds to. And so when you get to see these amazing, so Mu is the Heart Sutra. Very interesting, yes. So I was really told to chant Mu, but, Creator explained to me that if I just chant without actually the heart being fully engaged, then the Creator will not be able to respond to me again. And so I only chant when my heart is full. And you can tell the difference, like when you chant just because you think you should be chanting, or when you actually first connect with your heart and you feel love. And this is the great teachings of all the great mysteries. The heart has to be engaged energetically. It is, after all, an energetic center. And so once we connect with it, for example, so I've always been taught directly by Yogananda. But also then suddenly this other yogi appeared to me one night and he gave me an initiation and he told me who he was. And it was Sri Kaleshwar. Now, many people actually studied with Sri Kaleshwar, but I really didn't. I didn't know about him. I believe he passed in 2012 as a very young man, but he was one of the yogis that the same lineage, as Yogananda, that his arrival in this world was foretold. And he taught several people in this world. He didn't have a big following, but he taught many wonderful teachers. And his number one teaching was that we need to have an open heart and a pure heart that is able to surrender to divinity. And, those are the teachings of Divine Mother. When we learn to relax with her and we truly take it as a practice, when we let go of all the baggage, of all the limitations, of all the ideas, really, even, because very often we are burdened by our own ideas. And so it's good to step into the nothingness. And once we step into the nothingness, again, from my experience, we actually only then are able to receive the fullness of everythingness. It is pretty incredible. So it's simple, and yet not so easy to attain because it's not intellectual. It is something we need to experience. People call it practice, and then one day there is the experience. So together here we practice. And today we will be practicing even more again with Orin, which I find, Orin, as you know, I feel the teachings of Orin always take us to the next level of our divinity. And that is the key. Even when we work with something like abundance, we are actually stepping into more and more and more of our divine self. There is nothing more important right now in this world than actually making the efforts to really get to know your divine self, because your divine self is right now, right here, available to all of us so much. And, I always recommend the same thing. It is before you even start your day, get in touch with this amazing technology within you, the fragment of God. It cannot fail you. It really cannot. So in the past, humans got disconnected from this aspect. And so we ended up in a very diminished world with a diminished connection to source. But that all is being restored because you are here in this world doing the work, and you are remembering more and more and more and more. You follow your heart. And following your heart is the most important thing. When we go into the new earth as a new dimension that already exists actually as a parallel dimension to us right now, when we fully integrate all parallel realities of Mother Earth, which she has, we will be integrating them into one. We are creating one new Earth. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there. Then the world will be full of wonderful humans that are all just always following the heart, and no one will be following the mind first. And the mind will no longer be broken the way that it is in this world. There will be no random thought. There will be also no right and wrong. It only will be right. And that's the interesting thing about creation. I don't know, how long this experiment will last, as it is still here right now, because we are still in, the right and left. And it's playing out in this world right now a lot. But it is up to you and me to see beyond this and to step into the oneness, which always is love. It always is love. So the more we seek love within our own being, of course, then the more then love seeks us. It becomes a wonderful game. You become so attractive to the divine forces by having that beautiful heart. Nothing else really matters. And then it comes onto you. It's really, it's like a mind twister. And I hope I explained it well, because, this has been what actually kept humanity in this perpetual karmic kind of recycling system, which ended, by the way, as you know. So we are beyond it. But we still will have to be choosing with our energy where we go next. And if we go to the highest possible reality, or a little lower, but we want to go to the highest of the highest possible, of course, realities always. And it is our heart and our energy that actually will determine where we go next. So it's always good to think about where do you go next, even though you're right here, right now. But our life as it continues, the moment we, for example, leave this body, the energy carries us instantaneously to the next. And so where do we want to go also? It's a good question. So, And let us go into this beautiful meditation. Today, once again, we will be working with Oren. We have this beautiful album. It's a course, it's 8 journeys. Today, we're listening and working with the 7th journey. Yesterday, we were embodying the idea of success. And again, I would like to recommend that success is when we actually fully connect through the heart with the divine and then stay connected. To me, that's the greatest success. It is. And when we disconnect, to find the connection again, of course. So, and that's what we practice here, the art of living. And today's journey will be about abundance. What is abundance? So again, let's define it by experiencing it. So I'm going to stop recording. So once again, this was such an amazing meditation with Oren. So what Oren does for us, just so that we know, number one, Oren engages our creative mind. It is the mind that is able to see into higher realms. What Sanaya always brought through, she was actually describing what takes place in these higher realms, guided by Oren. So we are constantly engaging with seeing into higher realms, whether you see it or not. What does that mean? We go beyond this. We just step into the middle point where we are in the heart, having such a wonderful time, and we are receiving a transmission from Oren of energy. Now, receiving a transmission of energy, that is an investment. Oren is investing in every single one of us at the same time. And that, to me, it's a big gift when you receive an investment of energy from a higher being, which is, of course, what we call kind of initiation. So we always have these highly evolved beings giving of their own to others, as Yogananda, for example, I experienced when he placed his hands on my head. And, it accelerates your evolution, of course, so it's amazing. It always gets better. And again, every area of our life actually can come and will come into perfect harmony. Every single area. And you will one day wake up, maybe you're there already, and you say, my life is so perfect and I know exactly how I created it. It's not random. You actually did this work, which means you worked with energy, you purified yourself, you meditated, you did the breathing, you opened your heart, and so on and so on. So there are so many different layers to this, of course. And we are working with the idea of abundance, and it's amazing because it's the most natural thing that our divine self has and that our soul has, and we just have been programmed not to actually be plugged into abundance, because the programming of our generation and all the generations that came before us was always not enough, and we have to earn it and we have to work for it, and it's not easy. And so that's why Oren is using something like blackberries or the berries, because nobody has resistance to like how many berries you can have. But if Oren was saying, oh, here is the dollars, here is the euros, here is the pounds, then everybody would go like, oh no, how much can I imagine? But we work with something as amazing as nature's abundance. Exactly. No one has resistance. Did you see how many berries you picked up? So that's pretty amazing. And if you have 1 minute, I will switch this screen and just show you from the point of creation. And I've shown this before. This was from a great mystic, an engineer, Ishak Bentov, an Israeli engineer. His Kundalini awakened. And so he was able to travel multidimensionally. But it was fun because he was an engineer. So everything he came back with, he described with a great sense of humor. And I wanted to show the design of Cosmos, the first, expansion of the cosmic egg, which will explain to us the 2 loops of the really good duality, how duality was supposed to be without distortion. I'll just have to find it just a moment.
I failed all of
it. Has all the ads. I'll skip that and then I'll share it with you.
Universe, unfolding its secrets.
So the audio is not very good, but it's old, I don't know when he left. It was in the 80s. I think it was 80s. So just to show the cosmic egg, it's only 1 minute.
as fast as you could postulate questions and ideas. Journey now with us from the creation of this universe to beyond the Great Wall, as seen by a true mystic and seeker of truth. After a long time of contemplation in the great void, the creator of this universe moved and became manifest in order to evolve. Then, outlining a part of the void by enveloping it in an ovoid shape of golden light. This creator is not male or female, but both as one. And in order to activate the process of evolution, they have to separate and move to opposite ends of the cosmic egg. Once separated, they want to come together again. The whole cosmic egg shakes with the tension of this separation. Then, the positive extends with a thunderous sound, and as the creator moves to the center of the egg, the protospace begins to flow along the sides of the egg, outlining the area where space-time and matter will be. Matter fills the matrix and evolution begins. Looking closer at the universal center, we find a quantum singularity, a white hole and a black hole side by side, one recycling all matter and universe, and the other the source of all light and matter.
And that's it. To me, this is the best description I've ever seen that exactly shows us the same thing that the creator showed me, and that's this. And that is the singularity in the middle. That's another great name for it. And so when we find the singularity and we then understand how creation actually comes into being, it is the being and non-being. It is really the two trumpets of creation, the two loops of infinity that keep expanding creation. And also, in mystical teachings, you can call it the destroyer and the creator. So, the mystery is big, but little by little, we uncover it here. So we'll repeat again our beautiful journey with Oren today, and we'll continue tomorrow. So thank you so much for being here.